Welcome to our webinar. This is brought to you by HEM Education Marketing Solutions. I'll tell you a little bit about HEM as we get started here. We are a full-service digital marketing agency that serves only the education sector. Among all of these services and systems you see listed, we focus only in the education space, and it's all types of schools, public and private, small and large, because we know that the education e-marketplace, if you will, is unique from any other. Like there's no other e-commerce like attracting, nurturing, getting the application from and enrolling a new student, whether they're K to 12 in their earliest years and so many other deciders involved, or college, career college, language school, and we work in schools worldwide and in multiple languages. So we are the team of experts in each of these categories. They help to put this webinar together with us. So we're glad you're here. My name is Scott. That's me, and I'm overseeing our work and with clients in Canada, the US, and Mexico. And I'll have my contact information for my colleague Eric, who's based in Berlin and serves more of your audience there in Europe and the UK. Today, we're going to be talking all about social media, and it's really looking at the evolutions that have come about. There are some things that have remained constant and consistent among the changes. But what we're going to talk about overall is updating your social media marketing strategy, your SMM strategy, among those trends that pop around. Make sure that you're engaging in these. We're going to talk about the growing importance of social SEO or social search. And then we're going to talk about meta AI and algorithm changes and their implications in how that plays off social media as well. And ultimately, we'll get to the ultimate goal, which is driving traffic to your website as a result of all of your social media activities. In our webinar, we will have your microphones muted. That just allows me to kind of get through all the content here. Keep in mind, you will have an opportunity to ask questions. And you can ask your question at any time during the webinar. Just go to the Zoom menu bar, find Q&A, type in your question right when it's fresh in your mind. And at the end of the webinar, I'm going to open that up and I'll look at your questions and I will answer them at the time. So you can ask questions in that way, and we sure hope you do engage with us in that way. You don't have to take notes because in the next day or two, you will receive in your email a recording of this webinar and the slide deck. So you're going to receive a recording. You will get that recording in your email as well as the slide deck. So you can kind of just let it wash through your mind. No need to type or write notes. So let's get started. We're going to talk about really just social media overall as we see it today, and the numbers are mind-boggling. They really always have been, but they do not disappoint once again this year. The global number of users today is 64% of the Earth's population. Let's put it that way. In the past year alone, social media users have increased by 200 million, and advertising then, of course, continues to increase as well. So it's growing, and there's nothing about any other trend in the world that is stopping this trend. Not at all. Here are some updated numbers. Notice across the top, those numbers are in the billions of users, and across the bottom, those numbers are in the millions of users. So that gives you an idea of hierarchy to some degree. Of course, each reaches a different audience. We're going to talk about that very, very soon. But just big numbers. And I really enjoy this this bar graph because it helps us to now pick these numbers apart a little bit, right? So what we're looking at is primarily the age group of 25 to 34s. I realize that excludes some of your target audience, perhaps, but it's a good illustration because it gives us a consistent chunk of an age group. And the percentage of that age group that is on TikTok, for example. So 35% of the 25 to 54, 34 group is on TikTok, whereas LinkedIn has the largest percentage of that particular age group, which is not necessarily surprising. And if you were to go younger, right, like 18 to 24, 25, that would likely be flip-flopped, that TikTok would be much greater and LinkedIn would actually have a greater differential to the lower aspect. But it's very interesting. It is always helpful to remind ourselves of who are we posting to? Who is our audience, first of all? Where do we find our audience? That's what this is all about, this graph. And and then what am I going to say to relate to them? So it's important to know the numbers, to know where people are. And now we're going to kind of talk about each of these networks and how to target that specific audience. Why would you use Facebook, for example, anymore when it's all just age-old people, as I'm told and as I understand? Um, you know what? It's still ideal for creating community engagements. It's the one place we still recommend that you post events because it has a great events tool within it, and you can, users can share those events, you can promote it, track it. So it's really useful for that. It offers very detailed demographic targeting. So this is among the best in terms of the ways that you can target based on behavior within Meta and Facebook. And of course, this is where you're going to target parents as decision makers. So think of that and think of this as a great place for a retargeting campaign. When you go to YouTube, think of what it allows you to do. It allows you to curate educational content in structured playlists. None others can do that. It allows you to gain visibility through YouTube Shorts. It allows you to host live classes, have a streaming option, and offer targeted ads that could be skippable or non-skippable, right? So there are a lot of different functions here in this, used and busy age group. So this is well used and very active as a platform for your marketing in your social. Um, Back to Meta with Instagram, this takes Facebook to a younger degree and to a much more visual degree. It's a lot more dynamic. You're looking for short visual clips that are going to catch people's attention visually and also just with pure interest. It gives you the options of doing the stories plus the photo and video ads so that you can attract and convert prospects. So there's a great deal of visibility that you're trying to conduct here, those visibility operations, and also the conversion operations get into play here. You can place your ads in the Explore tab. So when people type in a particular topic, your ad could pop up as one of the results. So we'll talk a bit about that soon because this is an important place to reach new audiences. In TikTok, of course, we're skewing towards the younger audience. The video is going to drive great visibility and brand awareness. Um, the, the the only catch here is that the videos that we see day to day to day today are so catchy. You really have to work at being, you know, worth not scrolling, worth the park of the thumb. Let's freeze the thumb for a second, for 3 seconds, so that you could hear my message. And that is the real challenge, no question about it. But you can express the why behind your school in a very memorable way here, and it's a great way to gain that visibility. Brand takeovers, hashtag challenges, these are all great ways to kind of hop in if you haven't done worked with TikTok before. Is a great way to step in and engage here because this is where your audience likely is if they're younger. And of course, LinkedIn is that professional, typically older audience. It facilitates a great deal of networking and discussion, really asking questions and providing answers, and not just where can I find this or where can I find that, but it's more of a, hey, I'm in this situation. What's a good way of reacting, responding, engaging in this situation, in this professional situation? And then people write and comment to give ideas, answers, solutions, and sometimes offer their services. So it's a great place for that type of a professional community. So the events are typically tailored to career advancement, and that's what people are looking for on LinkedIn. So a lot of career colleges have great work here in terms of gaining that visibility. So again, these are just kind of some of the things you already know about social, but it's really important to remind ourselves of the core foundational elements there. Um, and as you may recall, a core foundational element of our webinars at HEM are the polls. We like to ask you questions. So anonymously, you can answer us. How many social media platforms is your school active on? Are you most active on one? Are you active on really just two or three or more than three? Please vote now. It's anonymous, and I'll remind you while you're voting that you'll get the recording of this webinar in your inbox. Email will come either Friday or Monday with the recording of this webinar and the webinar deck. Okay, so now we're going to share the results, and it's good to see that a majority of you are on more than three, and all of you are on not just one, which is great. There was a time, maybe 5 to 8 years ago, certainly 8 years ago, where we would recommend that you focus on the one or two social feeds where your audience is, where you know that they engage based on age group, behavior, etc. It's more important today to be more widespread because there are many, many touches that your searching audience will do. Your target audience will look among many of those social networks that we just talked about, and before they even fill out a form. So the more the merrier, as they say. But in this case, it's just going to be better off for your overall social media marketing. Let's talk about updating your social media marketing strategies. So that's one thing I don't think we even list in the slides here is just being on more than just two or three and try to engage and be relevant among multiple networks. The first one that we feature here is really, it's no great surprise. And I have the word still in here. Short form video is still king. There's no question about it, and this has been for some time, but it remains absolutely critical that you're utilizing video, that it is short form, because this is what people kind of what requires them to stop, again, freeze that thumb from scrolling. They're going to perform better in every way to capture attention. A great way to take it a step further is to use user-generated content, and that is content that is created by your students, your alumni, your instructors. So not the administration speaking its official voice, but the real people telling their real stories about what it's like to be a student here, why they love being an instructor at this school, and what goes down in the classrooms. The alumni, what did you gain from this? And those deliver authenticity at the very core because they're coming from the real deal, the real person. And so how do you step this into your own school feed? Well, this is probably already happening, and you'll need to do some research to find who's posting about you. You can approach those folks and ask to repost or to have them do this with you in some type of partnership. So there's that first place. The second way you can go about it is approach those instructors, grads, or students who you know are already engaging on social media and would be up for this, would be comfortable doing it. So it's definitely the way that you're going to gain the most engagement in social media today is through user-generated content. I want you to think of the multiple categories of networks as ways to target multiple decision makers within your group. For example, this K-12 school wanted to target students through Instagram, parents through LinkedIn. Because it's a very high-performing academic school, we knew the parents through LinkedIn would be a way. It's basically parents asking, what's the best career for my child? What's the best academic pathway for my child as they get ready for university, that type of thing. So we're looking at the different channels that are being categorized based on what audience am I going to reach for this one school. There are multiple decision makers. And this is kind of a what's old is new again. Never underestimate the power of community engagement and dialogue. Just putting out the post and watching the hearts fly in, that's not what social media is about. Social media is really best used when you engage with this post and perhaps ask your audience a question. They reply, and then you reply back to them and kind of carry out the conversation. It's a great way to show you're listening, honestly. And there's a great level of authenticity there that you're not just putting out content, you're engaging there as well. And that is going to really turn a prospective student into a prospective student with higher consideration of your school if you're getting a good reply and a worthwhile dialogue going through social to some degree. All right. So now let's talk about the trends that we're seeing in 2025 in social media. Before we do, we're going to do poll number 2. Now that we've kind of got your mind jogged into social media mode and what you're doing and what maybe you're thinking of what more you should be doing, we want to ask, what's the primary challenge that you face when using social media for student recruitment? Is it researching and reaching that target audience? Is it creating the content overall? Is it measuring the effectiveness of your campaigns, or is it just budget? And budget could be monetary. It could also just be amount of time I have in a day. So this is again anonymous. So please let us know how you're feeling on that. It was funny, once I said budget is not just monetary, it's time in the day, I saw 2, now 3 budgets come in. So yeah, this takes time. And that's part of creating engaging content as well. I get it. So we're going to go ahead and share the results here. And the number one thing for you all is creating that engaging content. And it is really interesting how a majority of folks doing social media for educational institutions, yourselves, you have educational backgrounds. You might have marketing backgrounds or admissions backgrounds to, marketing to some degree, probably admissions to more degree because you're involved in the administration of a school. You're not social media or content creation experts. We get it. So that's a great challenge. Perhaps it's the time of day it takes to consistently create content. But hopefully these ideas will help spur some new elements going on. And in addition to the new ideas you get from this webinar, I would recommend you research other schools, not necessarily your competitors, but just read other schools' Instagram feeds or reels, YouTube shorts, and just start, drinking it in. That's a great way to gain more ideas in terms of how to create content, what you can create. That's easy enough. Let's get into those social media trends for this year. And just to make sure that you understand it's top 2025 social media trends in 2025. Again, I can't stress enough how much short form video dominates the engagement. It's 75% of students using TikTok for academic help. They're going to YouTube to look at vlogs, etc. So it's really the number one resource that people are going to search for a new school, but also to engage as a student. And engaging as a student, social, and this is at a higher degree today than it's been. This has been a trend going for years, right? More and more students are doing e-learning through social features that are engaged, that are integrated into their e-learning platforms. But also there are Facebook and Reddit study groups. There are LinkedIn and Reddit learning groups, conversational groups. These could be within your school alone. These could be greater and wider to just, science in the 8th grade, things like that. So there are YouTube learning playlists, and consider gamification, because if you're able to generate content that basically makes a game out of learning in little small pockets of 30 seconds or 40 seconds at a time, you're engaging that core audience in a way that helps them see perhaps science in the eighth grade in a different light and in a really enjoyable way that's outside the classroom. So look for those opportunities. Um, TikTok educational content is a growing trend, and I basically just say feature your teachers. Now that's easier said than done because when I worked at a school and when I walked in the teacher's lounge and sat down next to a teacher, sometimes they would kind of hide because they knew I was going to ask them maybe to do something. Um, Teachers aren't always interested in putting themselves on camera. That's not where they're most comfortable. And that's okay. Those aren't the ones you need to work with. Work with those who are already there, who are already possibly posting, as I'd said, and who just have that great persona that comes across well and they're comfortable in that improvisational kind of play because they can provide all these different, again, here's some content ideas that you don't have to create. They can create. This showcases who your instructors are and why they're such a valuable resource to your school. So look at this as a content option. Another trend really just reinforces that short form video, live streaming are leading the way in terms of where schools and marketers are increasing their investment in the year to come. So with an investment share of 23%, short form video is number one. Podcasts less so today than it's been, but you see meme marketing, again, UGC content and live streaming are actually in more of that growth mode today. So this is where, people are putting their dollars, putting their time and energy. And this is one of those growing trends that's really interesting to see as some things grow and other things not so much growth lately. And as I'd said, gamification, and this is just a quick example of on the right, but you're looking at a way of making learning fun, engaging, and it kind of spins, the expectation of when you're talking about learning at our school, we're not talking about classroom, boring, quiet. We're talking about engagement and fun and enjoying and learning and what you can take away from your learning. So really look to bring out the personality of your school in that gamification in social learning. Another trend which we love is that resurgence of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the aesthetics, the culture, what was your campus like at the time? What did your teachers look like at the time? These are great ways to kind of step into what's already hot on social media, right? So this is already trending, and it's something that your school can step into easily and try to create that connection, right? That relevance, while just enjoying the culture that has been. Another topic that's really strong, remains strong, is sustainable and ethical practices. So while professional and scientific communities continue to put out research, talk about what your school and what your classes and what your instructors are saying and doing on these topics and link it to a recent study that has just come out. Or maybe there are, people talking about space with astronauts coming back just this week. So you can take those topics that people are really engaged in and talk about what is your school saying? Maybe not necessarily about that particular social event that happened this week, but just the topic overall, space and space studies, travel. There's also been a growing emphasis on mental health and wellness, right? So this is where you can, again, showcase what are your students saying and doing about this. It speaks to the culture of your school, and it speaks to, what it's like to be a student at your school, so that the prospective students can feel, I think I'd fit in really well here. And that's a really important aspect to communicate. The one thing social media can do here is communicate above and beyond anything, everything, right? It reaches the audience, but it tells your story. So this is how you can tell that story. So in now digging down, getting a little more serious into the importance of social SEO. What we're talking about here is illustrated in this graph, where as you see, what's growing at 51% is people specifically Gen Z, searching initially through social media. So when they get on their phone to do a search, to look something up, they're going to social platforms and networks first, and maybe later they'll go to a Google network or to a search network. So social has become the go-to for 67% of Gen Zers, 62% specifically turned to TikTok, and just 51% overall. This means you want to work to be visible in the results of that social search, and that is your social search engine optimization. So we're taking what is SEO that's typically and always traditionally been focused on Google, Bing, et cetera, and now we're bringing it out to your social platforms. And this is going to, here are the things you're going to engage in to be visible here. Consistent posting. So not just once a month, maybe more than once a week, but make sure what you're posting is relevant, which gets us to quality content. Don't just post for the sake of posting, really have a meaning behind it, communicate something relevant behind it. We're going to talk about profile optimization. We're going to talk about keyword research and hashtag research and geolocation and captioning. And all together, it's going to really play out and embracing your local city or region or area in doing so. Let's show you how we do that. In keyword search and profile optimization, in keyword search, just go into social platforms and start typing keywords that you think your school would embrace and relate to and basically want to work to own, if you will, or certainly be visible as a result of these searches. It's going to share with you what are the hashtags that are attached to these terms, what are the most searched phrases used in this way, and what are other aspects of it. It's basically going to be a great waterfall of ideas of where we want to be seen, and how we can take that search term, these relevant keywords, and work to own them in our posts. You want to ensure that your profile is optimized. So this is a well-optimized profile because it has the name of the school, type of school, brief description, it has the address, and it has the link, not just the hyperlink to the website, but you see there are a couple of links here that's basically got the link tree, so to speak, in there, as well as having multiple categories here of different types of reels. So this is a well-optimized profile. You want to make sure all of your branding and information here is complete and up to date. When it comes to placing the relevant keywords that you want to own, you want to put this in your captions on the video, students in London. You want to put this in the content of the post as well, students in London. You want to include it in some way, shape, or form in the hashtag or other aspects that you might use to try to engage in terms of being visible for search. So there are 3 places here that you want to make sure that those key phrases, those relevant keyword phrases, are visible. You want to tag your location every chance possible because people are looking for you in some cases because of where you are. So think in that. And also consider that by editing within the app, within TikTok, for example, it enhances your content's visibility. The algorithms of each network realizes you've edited it within that network, and therefore it's going to grant you greater visibility within the algorithm of search and overall exposure of your content. So now in talking about meta AI and algorithm changes and their implications. So if you're familiar with meta AI, it's above and beyond just going to Meta and going to Facebook or to Instagram and searching for content. It's an actual app location, and essentially it's to that degree an AI agent for Meta that allows you to do in-depth searches across Meta platforms, and you can get real-time information and assistance without leaving that platform, for example. So again, it's a great place to type in search aspects and keyword phrases to see what else is being researched in that topic, so that's helpful and interesting. And what I tried to do is understand as a student, as a school marketer or communicator, how could I use Meta AI as a tool? And I couldn't find too many examples of it actually being a tool for you. The one I did consider is, okay, if I worked at a school that involved those younger grades, what if we imagined that our elementary school is a spaceship? What would that look like? And this is a great way to get, and actually, these are some of the best AI generated images I've seen, because some of them can be quite foggy, not necessarily realistic or even enjoyable, so to speak. They get a little spooky, but these are great images of an elementary school as a spaceship. In fact, there is a button on here you could animate it so it could spin and you could go in the window type of thing. It was pretty well done. And whether you tag your elementary school name onto this or however you want to work with this initial image, that's one way of kind of thinking out of the box of what can a tool like this do for school marketing. So really look to find those AI tools and what they can do to help get you to the next level to generate some content that is truly unique, but still authentic to your school. So make sure to keep it authentic to your school, to take this as a starting point. And now what are we going to do with it that's school relevant, that's relevant to our students, to our teachers, to our parents? It's also really important to consider, much as we do across Google, um, the algorithm changes that happen regularly and often unannounced, and those that impact the visibility of your content. So keep in mind, algorithm changes are going to lead to shifts in how your content is categorized, prioritized, and shown as results in a search or results in someone's feed, and therefore who sees it. So sometimes Meta, for example, decides to prioritize content that generates more interaction. And therefore, you're going to want to work to generate content that really is all about interaction. I know this is a super simplified, and we've already been through this iteration of Meta, but it's just an example of what happens and what then to do as a result. So you want to keep an eye on the interaction rates, the engagement rates, the likes, the shares, the comments on your social across all channels. And if you see any dips, um, watch the other social feed elements that you're seeing and see what's playing more, and really look to pay attention of what is playing more. And is it Q&A options? Is it, quick polls? Is it live events? So look to really pay attention to as AI generates. We do this webinar a year from now. There are likely going to be 3 or 4 algorithm changes in that time, perhaps more. We never know. That are going to have an impact on how visible your content is. So it helps to pay attention. And yes, it's one more thing to do, but it's the kind of thing you can do away from the office where you're just kind of scrolling, you're on your own personal feed, but pay attention to what's engaging today and be there with it. And focus on creating content that really, I think, hits home, right? It hits home. It's relevant to your audience. It's authentic. So it's engaging, but also authentic and of high quality. So this is where it just gets more meaningful of understanding what's going to be listened to or well received. And is it a message from the school marketing team or the school administrators, or is it real stories from current students or are your alumni in the world after your graduation? Is it real insights on what it's like to be a student at this school today? Campus life in motion. Is it informative content that adds genuine value? When people graduate from this program at our school, they 99% of the time go on to this particular job or job field. So really double down on authenticity and relevance and content quality. We're now going to talk about the ultimate element and thing to remember about why we do social. Yes, it's to generate a greater community of followers. Yes, it's to gain visibility. But overall, you kind of when it comes right down to the end of that conversation in this topic, social media should be a driver of traffic to your website. It is included as organic traffic to your website when they're just on your social, they like what they see, they click to learn more, and they head to the website. So this is really why we're doing what we're doing. It's around this time when I was teaching digital marketing that I would remind my class, because of all the things I've just covered, it it really didn't tell you how to shoot or edit this cool new video. It didn't tell you how to sync up to the great new music that everyone's doing. It's not so much the how-to course. It's really more important to understand how to use these tools overall, um, and to consider that these, yes, they're extensions of talking about your brand in the school, but they are marketing tools. And this is where why we're focusing on these marketing aspects of the use of social media and not just the how to create that one video that everyone's going to love and engage with. That's a different class. This is all about remembering and intentionally utilizing your social feeds as a marketing tool, and in that way, driving traffic to the website. To do so, some simple things. Again, we've talked about the bio. Make sure it's everything that it possibly can be. That your bio visibility, so one is Facebook here, I think, and the other is Instagram, that they're consistent. They look and feel the same, right? They say the same things. Um, Use compelling calls to action. So to drive traffic to your website, you want to use calls to action that are engaging, right? And you don't do this on every single post, because then it's just going to feel like a machine. You're just, here's a post, come to our website. Here's a post, come to our website. Use it when it feels most relevant, that the website provides deeper and more in-depth information about this topic we're posting on. And it's then that you want to say, click the link in the bio or click here. Use link shorteners for that very reason, because first of all, they create clean branded links. You can also add the UTM parameters that allow your tracking to basically understand, here's how much traffic we got from Instagram this month. Here's how much traffic we got from Facebook this month. Here's how much traffic we got from this other social network this month. You want to be able to track which social platform is driving the most traffic to your website, because then that helps you to make database decisions. Where are we going to spend our time this coming year based on the data from last year? What worked best last year? Where do we get most of our traffic last year? From what efforts, from what networks? And let's, do more of that, right? When it comes to kind of going back to the bio, the link in bio tools are super helpful, because rather than just send them to the website, you could send them to a core collection of pages on your website you want to specifically drive traffic to. They could be specific stories, again, linked to the post. They could be whatever pages on your website that are most important today. Could be a link to an event, for example. So utilize those link in bio tools and leverage paid advertising. Everything we've talked about so far has been organic, just posting and putting posts out there in the day, right? But when you find a post that over delivers in terms of engagement, in terms of likes, in terms of response, this is a great option for boosting or putting money behind it, turning that post now into an ad. Because consider, your posts go out to those who follow you or those who would most likely follow you. And you're really only going to be seen by that external audience, those you're trying to, make familiar with you anew. The best way to do that is by putting some money behind that organic post, turning it into an ad, defining a target audience or location of a city nearby or another region, but maybe more so those look-alike behaviors and intentions of your followers. So you can create an audience based on what looks like our existing audience and target them. These are the folks who don't see you yet on their feed. You want to be seen by these folks. This is your introduction to them. And the best way to do it is to take that most successful post of the month or of the week and boost it, turn it into a promoted ad, so to speak. Okay, so I'm going to just allow the key takeaways to speak for themselves. We've really kind of talked about each of these points overall, and I want to offer this time to remind you two things. You will receive a recording of this webinar in your email, either tomorrow or Monday, and you'll also receive the slide deck. So you'll have that coming into your email. And also, please type into the Q&A any, questions you might have. So I'm looking for the questions here. There it is, sorry. Let's see, we'll take this first question. Sometimes the issue is that we don't have content ideas. Oh, it's not that we don't have content ideas, but that they don't hit the generation we target for. What do we do when the social media manager is a millennial trying to attract Gen Alpha, for example? That's a great real world question. So the first question is basically, well, I'll restate it. What do we do when the social media manager is a millennial trying to attract Gen Alpha? So it's a bit of what we talked about in the beginning of this webinar, and that is understanding who is our target audience. Why do we target that particular audience? Based on age, based on behavior, based on demographics. So at the school where we worked, where I worked, it was very much, we targeted parents because it was a lower school, lower and middle school and upper school, but it wasn't college or university, it wasn't higher education. So we're looking at parents, and it was a private school, so we looked at household income, and we looked at number of children in the family, and we looked at radius. So there are really specific aspects of who is our audience. Okay, now we draw that persona. And by understanding and envisioning the persona of who we're trying to be visible to, we now understand which networks we want to be visible on. That's where this audience is going to be, and what we want to say that's relevant to them. And it's important to have that conversation, maybe not just do that one-on-one to your social media manager, but bring it out to the team. So get more of the admissions and marketing team together with head of school and have a little powwow of a little meeting, excuse me, of a smaller, like a group of 3 to 5 to 6 people, and have that conversation as a group, kind of brainstorming it, because your admissions folks, for example, share a great deal of important information based on who we're talking to every day, what questions are they asking, what's relevant, it's most relevant to them. So that's a great way of getting everyone on the same page, and understanding then, your social media manager might be able to write those questions or posts in a way that are more relevant to today's audience based on what we've learned from admissions and recruiting. So that's a way of kind of bringing it out of just the one person challenge and making it more of a group, make sure the entire group of admissions, marketing, recruiting is all on the same page of the persona and of the messaging. Should we be posting to stories? If so, should it be something spontaneous content like walk in the office of administrators and ask them a question? So the first answer to that is, should we be posting to stories? Yes. Much like we want you, and I'm encouraging you to post on multiple networks, Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and wherever else. It's also important within each network to be on the feed and also in reels or stories, for example. And yes, that's one way to do it. As long as it feels fun and relevant and the outcome's okay. If you're surprising an administrator Who knows what's going to come of it? But yeah, that's a good way. Um, and I'd kind of maybe pull away from the administration and go more to your instructors, because administrators are seen just as that in social media. The great thing about social media, about the world of social media, is that it's where the administrators are not. And I don't mean that literally, but people, your audience, and typically your prospective students go to social to search there first, because that's not where they're going to get adult speak, right? They're not going to get the company line. They're not going to get what's written on the website. They're not going to get administrator talk. In social, they're going to get the real deal. What's it like to be a student at this school? That's what they're looking for there. So what I'd recommend is bust into a classroom after the kids are gone and ask, one of your instructors a question. That might be a better target in terms of trying to generate content there. And I'll take one more question. I know we're kind of running out of time here. Any suggestions on how to improve the quality of our applicants? We get applicants, but a lot of them do not meet our admissions criteria. How can marketing support admissions in improving the applicant profile? That's a great question. So let's take that, Laura. I'm going to start by pulling way back into understanding the benefits of social media versus the benefits of search, Google, etc. The benefits of social media is that you can reach a lot of people and you get a lot of great visibility. Granted, they are targeted by age, demographics, behavior, like what groups they join and belong to in social media, what posts they like and engage on in social media. That's all there, and that's all granted. Even with all that targeting, social media generates a huge number of leads at a very low level, not very low level, but a lower level of quality of lead. You get a lot of people who are interested, but only some of them are really truly interested and, as you say, relevant and meet your qualifications. Search, on the other hand, when you place advertising in search, for example, you're putting your school and your program in front of an audience that's actively looking for that program, that type of school for them or their child or their family member. And so that paid ad on search is going to generate fewer leads overall, but more of high quality. Going in multiples, right? We're going to suggest you do everything we just talked about in social as the lever you pull to get the word out there, to get visibility, to get the numbers. We recommend that in parallel, at the same time, you run search ad campaigns that target your specific audience, because the money you generate toward search is going to deliver those quality applicants and those qualified applicants. Whereas, it costs less to advertise on social. And if you're not advertising, it just takes your time in terms of generating the social content we just talked about, all that organic content. That's an important investment of your time to get the visibility machine rolling. And that is going to feed someone who's seen you on social, maybe has clicked on the website, maybe not. They've seen you, they've learned, they like what they've seen. Then they're going to likely do a search thereafter at some point on Google or another search engine. And to have your ad show there is where you might get to more the engagement aspect of actually recruiting the potential student. So there is crossover. You're going to get people searching in social, clicking in social, and digging down. But they may not be the ones who actually fill out the application form. And that's going to come in another touch. That may go straight to your website, or it may be as a result of a Google search campaign. So I hope that helped kind of put that in context, because that's a very real aspect. What you're experiencing is common, super common around the world. I hope you found that helpful. Thank you for your questions and answers. Good ones for your questions. And I really, well, we're way long on time, so I'm going to let you go the rest of your day. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great rest of your afternoon. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.